So yeah, right now we've got your processing power, which we've been doing, and our daily exercise check-ins. And then we also have our new sleep check-in, which is very important and very good. But we're looking into blood donations, even plasma donations, if that's something that you can do. Like goods donations to Goodwill and Salvation Army, volunteering your time with local organizations and that sort of thing. And we actually have a form that we will be launching very soon, I believe, that will allow you to submit receipts, submit letters of recommendation, anything that kind of just like proves that you donated your time, donated your blood, donated your goods, and that way you can earn even more points by doing good in the world.
Yes, indeed. And the exciting thing is that we just finished on the engineering side the ability to manually add points and, categories and stuff like that. So we're in heavy experimentation mode. And the way we do it is we just prototype using those Google forums and then we find out, hey, what are people like normally doing or what's the most activity that we see or the most popular requests? And then we on ramp them onto the platform itself. So we're just doing like very, very fast prototyping right now and see what works best for you guys, and then we just start granting leyline points and bring it into the system. The only caveat I would say is that we may have options and we may grant leyline points at some point, but we might choose to discontinue it for any different number of reasons, whether it's a regulatory issue or compliance issue or the partners like not like the right fit in terms of values and operations. So that there is a potential like risk to note, but for now, I think if you've got ideas and you're doing good stuff, just go ahead and submit it, and we can try to have a discussion. And say, oh wow, this is pretty amazing. Let's like onboard this onto Leyline. Or it'll force us to start having a conversation with the NGOs on the ground that are running these programs, and then we can set up a partnership and say, hey, you know what, people are like really interested in supporting your cause. If you want to just build a verification system for us, even if it's manual, let's do it, and we'll grant leyline points. So I think this is where things can start to go bananas in terms of who we could supercharge. Because again, like our long-term goal is we want to supercharge every nonprofit on the planet. So I'd say go ahead and build that connection with your local nonprofit and cause, and let's see if we can onboard them as quick as possible. How's that sound, Ariel?
Sounds pretty good. I was just thinking like, but in the future, like the game that we're connecting to this whole idea is that so that's separate from the points, or what does one have to do with another?
Yeah, I think the vision there is we want to layer these elements of gamification constantly over time. So you'll see like the current implementation is just very basic leaderboards, and it's just a sense of like who am I relative to the rest of the community, and my participation. It kind of tweaks that competitive element in our
Mm,
reptilian or mammalian brains. But
yeah.
then on top of that, we can start to build an achievement system to say, hey, listen, you hit 100,000 hours of contributions to Boinc. We should give you an awesome honorary badge for
Mm,
the accomplishment. And then we start to build in groups and social friends lists. So that way you're actually connecting with people that have similar
yeah.
interests and, are participating as part of your group towards a specific mission or a cause. And so we get this meta level of competition across people that are like just doing good things and racing to be the top. And so when we have those mechanisms in place, you can basically say, "Hey, listen, this month we're going to take the community and point to this cannon against COVID research, and let's just see how heavy we can get with this milestone. And if the community achieves this milestone, awesome, we're going to grant everybody a bunch of points and unique NFTs for that month." So we could do all sorts of like really cool gamification elements that the end
Mm,
result is just producing tons of good in the real world. And then we have this like awesome, uh, you know, reward system in place and reputation and system in place. So those are like
God.
just the bread and butter gamification elements that the game industry is like already mastered. So we're really just taking those elements and plugging it in here. Then the actual game can continue to evolve over that metadata. So now let's say your group is competing in this mission for a given month. We can like shape that into, hey, this is the North America group racing against the Latin America group, and let's just see what kind of results happen from there. And those numbers, we could actually play around with it and have them become like avatars battling each other. And, your skins and pets like having a real value, bring it into this like virtual war zone or whatever. So that's like the future thinking where our games pod is like really, dreaming about some like insane scenarios. But we do that like incremental tiny steps in that direction.
Got it. Yeah, and that's the thing that interests me because like I'd love to get like, participate with something in my community, but it's like I don't know, like it's so like because like the USA culture is so based on like commerce. It's like everything is just like a shop and a store. Like where do people go to like do an activity together or like, kind of get to know each other or like help people out and stuff. It's so few and far between, like the opportunities and the chances and stuff like that.
Yeah, I hear you. And, I think that's why, to me, community is so critical because it's not just about this website experience or a mobile app experience, it's a social experience. And, I think that's something that's really critical at this day and age is reconnecting us as a community. Because we're all kind of locked in our homes and like, like forcibly quarantined outside of each other. So yeah, I think what we want to do is move away from this transactional society into a relational society where we're contributing towards these larger initiatives and goals, which is exactly what's happening in the gaming universe now. Like people are going into these virtual online games and playing Among Us because they want these social, this dynamism and this sense of self relative to others. So I think it's important that we provide the same kind of ecosystem. So it's not just about, hey, go in there, rack up your points, and then transact and get your gift card. It's really this entire experience around it, where that is just one avenue where this becomes a worthwhile activity. But you also have a group of like-minded people that want to do positive impact in the world, that want to have fun with each other. And just from that sheer common ground, you end up building really powerful relationships and friendships and a sense of family and community. So that is so vital to how this entire like movement is going to work is like really building a strong values-based community and then have a ton of fun, like enjoy, the game of life, enjoy the game of doing good things. So anyway, that's a very spiritual, philosophical point of view, but that's what the tech sector is missing. There's not enough
Yeah.
psychology, sociology, history, philosophy. We need to incorporate that into these systems we're building because otherwise we're going to get a totally dehumanized
Right.
society.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's like we don't create robots for the sake of robots. Like we create AI and tech so our lives can, be better. But it's but when we create them for capital efficiency, it's just and we only get our identity from jobs. While they're taking jobs and we just look at them, it's like, they're taking jobs and that's bad. No, it's like they're taking the jobs so we can be philosophers and artists and like thing and like explore our creative sides. Okay, you do the boring menial stuff that I didn't want to do anyway so I can explore my horizons and like be happy. But it's like it's like, but they just stole a job. It's like it's the wrong psychology to be looking at. And I just think hopefully we have this better psychology that the robots can do this work and I can do what truly kind of makes me happy and what I want to do, and good. you know yeah.
Yeah, I love that thinking, Ariel, for sure. And I think, there's an interesting quote. I forget who said it, but it's this idea that robotics and automation and AI actually presents this opportunity to, liberate humanity from rote work, where we can grind all day doing a very menial job, when at the same time, if a robot did that for us, what do we do with our spare time? Which is things like, let's invest in things that humans are great at, which is love and empathy and creativity and music and art. Like all that stuff like makes our lives so much better. So like let's free ourselves. People might be much happier playing guitar or taking care of their loved ones or
Yeah.
helping someone that's disabled or suffering from a disease. That's like such valuable things to do. And actually, that's the kind of stuff like I'd love to reward like via Leyline because these
Mhm.
are important things that need to be
Right.
recognized on your digital resume to be rewarded with prizes. If
I
you like
think.
are a home caretaker, man, that's one of the hardest
Yeah,
jobs on the
I,
planet.
I, I'm gonna say we can't approach a space age world with a Stone Age mentality.
Mm, well thought.
All
I
right.
like that. Sorry to dominate all the
Okay.
time, guys. Anyone got questions that they want to bring to the table? Clearly, I can talk about a lot of crap, so please stop me when I get out of hand.
Okay, I've got a question about refer a friend. So I noticed that as the more people you invite, your Leyline points is going down. So, and I have yet to find a website that actually, like, hey, if you invite 3 friends, you get $10. But if you invite 10 friends, you get $5 or, something like that. So I'm just wondering if we can just, like
Just
either
keep it
keep it
flat.
consistent. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think we could do that for sure. I guess maybe the mentality or the thinking was we don't want people to abuse the system too much. So we want to kind of be able to throttle it down. But yeah, I think we can totally adjust that. And what'll happen is we'll certainly adjust the benefits over time. Because right now we're very interested in like bringing in early adopters because these are people who are going to be more patient with like a rough alpha build. Whereas like a lot of the mainstream audience or the late adopters would be like, hey, what is this thing, and then just peace out because they don't have that kind of patience. So you are all perfect examples of early adopters, and like you're still here because like you believe and like you're willing to take this risk of, hey, am I going to spend my time on this thing because you see a positive future for this thing. So I think the referral program is really targeting, like you are going to know who in your circles like is that type of early adopter that would be cool with this thing. But if we just go crazy and say, hey, like here's like 1 million invites for everybody, it might not be great for us at a testing phase, if that makes sense. But yeah, we could absolutely like rejigger the points rewards. And the best person to talk to is going to be Blaine on your side because he's working on all the gamification calculations and the economic modeling. So I think he can be a good resource for you, Pineapple. I'm assuming you're nodding your head in silence.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. But yeah, Pineapple's done some cool stuff because he's actually built the Google forum for us to do refer a friend. So since we haven't implemented on a back end, if you guys want to invite someone and get perks for yourself and perks for your friend, we can actually do it manually for now until we get it like incorporated into back end. So don't feel like you have to wait if you feel strongly that someone
Speaking
should
of
join.
manually, for those of us who have like non-zero numbers at the end of our points, maybe we have more points that just weren't added right, and also like for those of us who were contributing computing power and we didn't get anything for it because the things weren't connected. I think that's like the first way that should just because I have no
Absolutely.
records.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, Ariel. We've got a ton of bug fixing and figuring out where those anomalies are coming from. So we definitely have our engineers taking a look at that now. In terms of back rewarding points, that's going to be a little bit tricky for us. We're going to try to do everything we can, but it's I mean, we'll do our best. I don't know if I can guarantee that. It is important to know that because we are very early alpha stage, we will likely end up resetting points and balances as we bring in more alpha wave testers. So we likely won't be re-granting points. We're actually going to be like flushing points out. But before we do, and we have to do that in order to balance the economy and retest like accumulation rates and spending rates, etc. Because otherwise, like we'll keep filling the prize pool and just run out of money. So like we got to make sure that's very tuned appropriately.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just to set expectations, like these will not be your like permanent points once we get into beta. So alpha is like tends to be like very experimental, and it won't be on your permanent record because we're going to wipe everything before we kind of go to the broader public. So it's kind of like the development approach where, the early alpha stages, like essentially they're kind of throwaway. Same thing you'd experience like if you were in a beta test for like World of Warcraft, in the player test realm, essentially.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, before we ever do any wipes, we'll communicate way ahead of time so that way you can make sure you can spend all of it to get your rewards. So highly encourage you guys to do that.
Yeah, I
But
got my eye on that Steam gift card.
I know $50, man.
I saw all
That's
those new gift cards and I was like, oh my gosh. I immediately wrote to Jamie and I was like, are you kidding me? These are amazing.
Yeah, we got more coming too.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And what was I was gonna say? So this week we are planning on getting NFTs out as part of the redemption program, or when you receive rewards like a gift card, the intent is for you to get your non-fungible token along with it. And we're not exactly sure if it'll be randomized or duplicated, but what we're going to start off with is basically NFT art. So let me see if I could share my screen with you guys. All right. So yeah, we've got a very, very talented art team. And the way we're going to start off is as you start getting your gift cards, you'll also be awarded a unique art piece that is exclusive to you with its own unique properties, potentially unique color schemes, etc. Some of these will have specific rarities like common, uncommon, or legendary. So it might be in a form of avatars, or it might be in the form of a profile background, something like these. And a lot of these are still concept art as well. So it'll evolve over time. So even though you start off with an art concept, what we're going to do is start to model them into 3D and build them on Unity. So it'll remain in the same style, but then start to evolve over time. And, so we've got like our Leyline flip phone, which may be an ultra legendary item. You never know. And here's our friendship bracelet that you can only get via Refer a Friend, and then the Hydra and the Hydra Shield, which will also be unique to Refer a Friend. So yeah, that's the idea, and we're going to be testing out that system. I will say what's quite interesting about this space is that there are already non-fungible token art collections and marketplaces out there today. And these marketplaces are already generating, tens of millions of dollars a month in transactions and trades and selling. So NFT art is already valuable. So you guys will begin getting NFTs that will have intrinsic value that will eventually be able to be sold on these marketplaces. So then it's going to have even more utility on top of it because it'll have gamification elements on the platform. So not only are you decking out your profile, your background, your avatar, your gear sets, etc., it'll start to have function in the gamification elements that we put in place, like faction wars and stuff like that. And then the next layer beyond it is we'll have those tokens compatible with other games and other games compatible with our platform. So, there's so many different blockchain developers that actually want to partner up because they want utility for their game items on other games and vice versa. So it's exciting times, guys. It's going to take probably like 6 months for us to get to that stage, but it'll evolve every single week in that direction. So yeah, it's a super exciting time in the blockchain space. And maybe you might have heard of this, but essentially what's evolving now is something called the metaverse, which is basically this new layer of the internet where all of these systems are now tied together. And if you want to get an analogy of that, I don't know if you've read or watched the movie Ready Player One. The Oasis was this like giant metaverse of different, systems and worlds that were all kind of connected into the same space. That is actually what's emerging now into Web 3.0, into this like decentralized blockchain system. So we're going to be a big part of it. That's the plan. And our role is to create this economy of doing good things plugged into that metaverse. So yeah, that's the grand vision that will happen over the next few years or so. But this is the movement we're part of. It's exciting.
I've actually been doing a little research on blockchain on my own, just in the background. So that's why it was on the top of my head.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Looking up stuff on my own, but no,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. When you buy a car, you don't have to know how internal combustion engines work. You only have to know that when you turn it on and hit the gas, you go.
Exactly. And yeah, it was a hard lesson that I learned, because I've been like pitching this thing probably hundreds of times at this point, and I started with blockchain and say, hey, here's the technology, here's what it can do, and people are just like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't get this thing. So I realized, like, simplify the message, just say click a button, do some good, and get rewarded, and it'll supercharge like solutions. So that's been a very interesting journey to figure out, okay, how does this message really resonate and people can understand it? And what I realized, like, oh yeah, there's just a different language you should use depending on the level of like understanding a person has relative to what we're building. So I'm still working on it, honestly, and I think having these conversations is part of that learning process. So I thank you all for being here and challenged me with this.
Jeremy, do you think that it might be good? I know that because NFTs is a huge part of Leyline, and not everybody is super familiar with them, especially if it's family and friends that we're bringing in. Do you think it would be good in the future to have maybe like Cody make a good like little video that kind of just breaks down like what's an NFT?
Yeah, that's a
And
great
that-
idea.
Yeah,
I love that. And
because he's so good at explaining things and just breaking it down like in a very like plain speak way.
Yeah, I agree. Actually,
I'd like
I
to
love that.
second
Let's
that.
definitely talk to him. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, sorry. I'd like to second that. Well said, Bex.
Yeah, just like a little video like what's an NFT? So that if you have like friends and family that are like, hey, like, well, you're talking about like we can get NFTs and that's like a cool thing and a big deal. Like, what is an NFT? Instead of like me trying to really like break it down and be like, watch this video.
Yeah.
And then while you're on that YouTube, watch the other videos because they're great.
I love that suggestion. That is perfect. We should definitely do that. I'll take note of that and hit him up. All right. Other questions, guys? What else would you like to know? 100%.
So in the Boinc support channel, there's a lot of questions about like my computing hours that I've donated versus the points I'm getting isn't, adding up right. Yeah, I don't know what to tell them.
Well, one thing for sure, we're definitely looking at it on our side and engineering, and we're starting to troubleshoot again with David Anderson, because we're pulling the data straight out of the Science United API. So we're going to try to find out where that's coming from. I imagine it might be on our side, because our minter is only supposed to grant 10 Leyline points. So the fact that there's single digits is probably an indicator there's something broken on our side. So we are trying to track that down. It's just taking a little bit longer than expected because we are a little bit tight on backend engineers at the moment, which we're remedying as we speak. But yeah, we'll find out what the heck's going on there and give like a report on what we discover as soon as we do.
Okay, so no, me first. Okay, so
I was just agreeing.
okay, my bad. Anyways,
silence your agreement.
Yeah. So let's say I donate only 30 minutes of processing power. Do I get points? Would I get points for that? Like,
and
then what happens? Yeah. So what happens if I donate, let's say, in 1 hour and 30 minutes of processing power? Do I get points for that, or does it just stay at 10 points?
I would say my philosophical answer is that as soon as you exceed that threshold, we should round up to the next tier of Leyline points you'd get. So if you'd say like 1 hour and 10 minutes, you should have like 20 points. That's my philosophical response. Whether we've implemented that way, we have to double check, but I think that should be the requirement on our side. That seems like the most fair thing to do. So even if you're just like 1 second over that hour threshold, you'll get the next 10 points. But maybe Pineapple, we should get that into our engineering pod and specify that requirement. So yeah, I'll talk to the guys about that too.
Oh, and then Vitaly just wrote in the chat that Science United is open source, so it might help us to take a look at its internal implementation. And provided the GitHub link. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, cool. Yeah, Vitaly, I think once our engineers take a look and we see what might be happening on our side, we could probably like just sync up and see if there's like something to fix. Are you able to do like just, direct updates on your side? Is it really just you and David as the key developers on Boinc? And Vitaly is so fantastic,
yes.
guys. I just want to really shout out how amazing he's been to really help us out and answer a lot of questions. So I am so grateful that he's here. Hello, Dragonheart. Are you new to the community?
Hello. Yeah, I'm just kind of listening, learning more about everything.
Yeah, well, welcome
Yay.
aboard. Yeah, I'm really glad to have you here.
You were at
Cool.
community night.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Okay, so Vitaly, yes on Boinc, no on Science United.
Okay, noted. Duly noted. And yeah, I saw your message on potentially, participating and doing some pull requests. We would love for you to, hang out and, be part of the crew. If you're interested, happy to bring you onto our Slack channel. You can interface directly with our dev team. So yeah, let us know. And we could do some cool stuff. But yeah, Dragonheart, what'd you think of the community night? What'd you guys play?
Played a couple Jackbox games, and then we just kind of hung out and talked for a bit. So that was pretty cool.
Right on. How did you discover Leyline?
I think I talked to Eugenia about it at one of I think the MSI, you call it career night or expo. I forget exactly what you call it, but Eugenia Yen was there and she was talking about it, and I was able to learn about it from her.
Nice. That's excellent. Well, yeah. Happy to have you, like I said. Okay. Any other questions you guys want to throw out there?
Do gift cards or the coupon codes ever expire? Or are they good forever?
I believe they're good forever, partially because there at least is like US law where companies cannot like expire gift cards. So, it follows like the normal terms of service with those companies. Some have it where it's like, it might expire after a year, but you have to call customer service and they'll reactivate it for you. Others, it's just like it'll be permanent. Yeah, so it should be a permanent situation. If you guys ever have any trouble with that, you could always just like reach out to us and we'll replace the code. So it's no big deal on our end. And hopefully people won't abuse that, at least during alpha test. It'll be a problem for us customer service wise, like a year from now when we got like 1 million users trying to claim stuff, but we'll solve that problem later. Which I have a lot of experience with dealing on the account side at Blizzard. Oh man, that was a lot of fun. We had entire risk platforms developed to deal with credit card fraud and, chargebacks and stuff like that. Really interesting stuff. We'd spend like tens of millions of dollars just dealing with, bad actors trying to abuse the system. So a lot to look forward to, at least on our side.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that, because if the system, sometimes inequitable systems cause bad actors, and the system would just save so much money if it just prevented the conditions that created those bad actors in the first place.
Yeah, it's a constant challenge because humans are just very creative on learning how to break things and hack things. So like it's essentially when you're a global company with a lot of users, there's a lot of value, and so bad guys want to find value and get the easiest way to steal that value. So we were literally under attack 24/7. Like you would just, pull up a screen and we see all the IPs hitting us from China and Russia. Like those are the two most active, bots and hackers like attacking Blizzard servers all the time. It was really insane.
It's kind of like how people in the United States get all these like spam calls from India claiming to be all sorts of people that they're not. Yeah.
And actually with like AI, machine learning, and automation, it's just super freaking easy to use these communication channels and spam as much as you want. So there's like this kind of an information war that's going on because we've enabled all these like powerful communication mechanisms, and so bad people take advantage of it. So yeah, it's this constant arms race between hackers and social engineers and companies essentially. And again, that's where I think decentralization is powerful, because when you give all the users the ability to, flag or stop these bad actors and evaluate, it becomes achievable, because now you're fighting against the whole world versus like one single corporation. But yeah, that's starting to get very meta. Sorry.
So we have a question from the chat from Ritterbush, asking, given that we're short on internal staff currently for some of the back end stuff, is there any chance that we will be issuing any dev bounties to solve the items that can be isolated?
Yes, absolutely. So I think we are one of the big areas where we don't yet want to scale is because we want to make sure we have really strong architects and leads and managers in the core team that can make sure that, hey, we're adhering to like really strong software development principles and best practices, that we have the ability to mentor, dozens of students. So in order to do that, we need to be able to pay them competitively. So we need to get like our funding in place so we can build that like core team. Once that's in place, which will probably happen within the next like month or two, then we start to scale like crazy and activate our Quest system, which is essentially the gig economy. And we could have specific projects. It's like, hey, help us build the arcade infrastructure, help us build our iOS mobile app, help us build the Android app. And then we just like, do matchmaking with all the people that want to develop those skills, and then work on that project and just, throw hundreds of people at it. So that's the goal over the next like quarter or so, is really starting to scale up hardcore. So yeah, if you guys know any, backend engineers, we would love to get some more support here. And then hopefully it turns into, an apprenticeship or a straight up gig. We've got the model for it to scale. So any early adopters, we'd love to talk to. So please help us out. Or even students, actually, if you know anybody that's in college right now that wants to get an apprenticeship, we are happy to give like all this mentoring experience, like get on our stack, get access to all of our tools and templates, which they can use for free. And depending on university, you can get college credits for that too. So that can happen. And anywhere across the world. It doesn't have to be US. Like we are, I think we have a lot of networks in the US, but we can have people from all across Latin America or Europe participating, no problem. So yeah, would love some help there if we can get it. I like these questions, guys. I really appreciate it.
Sorry, I'm just going through my long list, Jeremy.
Yeah, keep it going, Pineapple.
Okay, this is going to sound silly, but okay, for the URL, I see you have a GG domain. I'm assuming the .com domain and all the good ones are taken. I'm just wondering why you went with GG.
Well, in large part, it's like really to lean into the fact that we're, aiming for, gamers as like our core starter market for a number of important reasons. So GG actually stands for good game, which is like typical gamer lingo. And so most gaming companies and startups are moving in that direction, where like you'll see tons of new companies really focusing on a GG domain. So I think we're kind of like, lumping into that space. We did end up claiming a bunch of other URLs too and different domains. So, we have most of them set up as redirects. So if we're going to leyline.gg, but you're right, .com was taken. And I don't think we wanted to go for that anyway. So, because we want to move away from like commerce into things like, it'd be better if we were like, leyline.org, which is for nonprofits, but GG is for games. So I think we want to lean into that. But part of the reason why we're focusing on gamers is multifold. One, that there is the massive opportunity of gamers being the largest cohort on the planet, and gamers tend to skew younger, where they care more about what's happening in the world and are very, they want to attribute their values to the brands and products that they use, where, they care more about sustainability or, all these different causes. The other element is that they've got like the core gamers, about 500 million, have all these super powerful PCs. So there's like a very easy connection to donate that power and accelerate these problems that are challenging all of us. Then the other big element is that we're using a lot of gamification and digital reward systems. And so it's gamers that are most comfortable with that. They already behave in this paradigm in all the games that they play. So it's a very natural progression for them to move on to this platform. And it's just like it's attaching all of these motivation models that they normally interact with, the fact that they attribute dollar values to their digital items and assets. It's not a logical leap for them. They just like know, oh, okay, that's how it works. I get it. So there's a lot of reasons why gamers are the vanguard for Leyline. But realistically speaking, Leyline is for anybody. Like it's designed for the entire planet. If you have a phone and internet, you qualify. So that's like the total audience we want to get to, but it's always about taking these incremental steps and focusing in on a particular audience, and then it grows from there. So to me, gamers are really about leading the charge and bringing the rest of humanity with them, as the early adopters. So yeah, there you go. That's why GG is the URL. It's a very complicated answer.
That's okay. It was very unique.
Jeremy, I was wondering, I know you're looking for younger people who can be interns and stuff, but what about, say, an old fart? Let's say someone who used to be an engineer. Well, I'm still an engineer. I guess once an engineer, always an engineer. But someone who may want to switch gears a little bit, like try some coding instead of.
I love it. Sam. 100%.
Right on.
Yeah, I think we basically designed it that way because there's just generally a lot more opportunity in that space. But absolutely, to me, it's like anybody that wants to participate on this project, we will run through the same exact training regiment, workshopping, mentor, pairing up, etc. And yeah, I think this is really where we want to go because it's open source. So the idea behind open source is that it's an entire community building this thing. And our mission is to, share all of that knowledge as far and wide as possible and empower people. So, Sam, yeah, if you want to jump back into the space, we will welcome you in open arms. I've got a nice family on the dev team. All right, let's do it, Sam. All right, it's happening.
Right now, I've done some programming in the past. Many moons ago, it was C++. Now I'm reading a book on Python, like Python programming. So if there's anything you want to point me in the direction of like what kind of language I should learn or any sort of stuff that you feel would be good for me to look at, I'm happy to give it a look.
Awesome, man. This is fantastic. I'll send over a tech stack to you. A lot of it is, at least on the front end, is JavaScript, React, Node. But anyway, I'll just connect you with the engineers as well, and they can be way more specific on, our practices, etc. But thank you, man. It's so cool. I love it. Let's make this happen.
Right on. Thanks.
Yeah, because you're studying your MBA, right? Or you're taking another degree currently?
Yeah. So right now I'm studying for my MBA, and that's sort of how I stumbled onto Leyline. Is I was looking into gamification, and I wanted to write a paper on gamification, yada yada yada. And I wrote to someone well, I don't want to go through the whole story, but basically they hooked me up with you, and I was like, man.
Yeah, totally. In fact, well, it was Dreamhaven Studios, which is founded by the Morheims, and Shane DeBeery was like one of the ex leads over at Blizzard, and so we're all just friendly. And he's like, "Oh man, you should talk to Jeremy because his project's like even more humanitarian than us."
Awesome.
Yeah, it was great. They're really good friends, honestly. And spoiler alert, we'll be partnering with like their games in the future once they launch. They got some really cool stuff in the pipe, but it might take at least another year or so before they really go to market. But yeah, they've actually been helping us a lot. Amy, who's Mike's wife, and Mike Morheim's ex founder and CEO of Blizzard. She was my boss. Like we worked together in esports and launched a whole bunch of leagues internationally. So they are just amazing human beings, like very down to earth, and they care a lot about improving the world. So they're certainly fans of the project and have backed us to some degree. So it's very exciting. Like I'm very, very lucky to have been able to connect with them.
Right on. That's cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's just like a tip of the iceberg in terms of the kind of industry support that we've got behind us. Like most of it's just turning them into like written contracts so that we can be way more public about it. But yeah, in the works, guys. It's in the works. Things are looking pretty nice. Man, I wish I could spoil so many other discussions that I have right now. I really have to hold my tongue. I'm sorry.
Good things are coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, we did sign a new sponsor. It's New Blood Games. They're kind of like this niche retro first-person shooter game developer. They're really popular on Steam. Actually, they have the highest positive ratings on the entire ecosystem, which is really fantastic. Let me see if I can find those guys. But yeah, they're sponsoring us and they're going to help promote us. Their CEO is going to be on our podcast, I think next week or so. And they're donating a bunch of free games. So we'll have key codes for some of these cool retro hardcore first-person shooter games on our prize pool very soon. So yeah, feel free, hit me up anytime. I kind of lurk Discord all the time, so don't hesitate to reach out if you got questions or feedback. And I guess that's it for today.
Great. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thanks. Thank
All
you.
right, guys. Thank you.